We begin the Gemara today on Daf Yutes, 6 lines down from the top of the Yomad. So the Gemara we're going to learn today speaks about the mitzvah of Yiyud. Odain, a master acquires an Eved Ivri, so he's able to then marry her. As the pasuk says, he's able to marry her himself. And here the Gemara is actually going to begin with the halacha, which it says in the pasuk, Vim Luvnoi Yiyadena. He's able to marry off the Amma to his son. So Rish Lakish asks a shaila about this. Mahu shemiyayid adam levnoi cotton. Can a person marry off his Amma Ivriya to his son, which is a cotton? Do I say benoi Amma Rachmana? The Torah says im levnoi yiyadena, you can marry her off to your son. Benoi kalduhu. That means the Torah is saying a chiddush regarding the mitzvah of yid. You can marry her off to any son, regardless of, even though usually a cotton has no das and it can't be mekadesh isha, but this is an exception. When the Torah says benoi, since in the pasuk it says you can marry her off you can marry her yourself or to your son, so therefore just like you yourself are gadol, so to your son is only if he's a gadol. Mahu gadol av benoi gadol. Amar Rab Zera, so Rab Zera says Toshama, bring your eye from this brayse here. It says in the Torah Ish, this is a pasuk which speaks about the Isser of Eishes Ish, a person that has a relation with an Eishes Ish, Ashayina for Eishes Ish. So it starts with Ish, Prat Lekatan. So this teaches you that the Ish has to be a Gadol. A cotton is not going to be Chayv Misa if he's Mizana with an Eishes Ish. So Taisus over here points out that the Gemara really shouldn't be, the Braisa shouldn't be bringing such a miyut. Why not? Because obviously a cotton never gets any chi of misa. So Taisus says that over here there would be a svara to say, since the Isha that he's being mizana with, if it's done beratz and she's getting a chi of misa, so maybe the Ish should also be getting a chi of misa. And Naregas al Yadi Taisus says, the Mefarshim say, just like you find regarding a behema, a Ish that has with a behema, and the behema, you kill the behema also, not only the Ish. So maybe here you would say the same thing. So the pasuk says, no, Ish prat lekatan. Ashayina fashes as Eishes Ish. When it says Eishes Ish, what does this mean? Prat le Eishes cotton. This excludes an Eishes cotton. Vi amrit miyayid. Now the question is, if you're going to say that yiyud applies even for a cotton, im kem it's in Eishes lekatan. So then there is an Eishes Ish that's married to a cotton. So why are we saying that if someone goes on his mizana with this Eishes Ish, that you would be potter? Why should you be potter? It's a regular Eishes Ish. The Elamai says the Gemara, what are you going to say? Enamiyayid. That there's no concept of yiyud, so there's no marriage for a cotton that we find ever. It's impossible. So if so, the question becomes the opposite. So why do you need a pasuk to even exclude a person that has a relation with a woman that's married to a cotton, if there is no such an existence, there's no concept of an Eishes Ish by a cotton. So what do you need a miyat of a pasuk for? Prat lekatan. So Tishit Mina, the miyayit, we should be patient from the opposite. That there is yiyud for a cotton, and there is Eishes Ish for a cotton, and still the pasuk is being memayit that when you mizana with this Eishes Ish with a cotton, that you're going to be potter. Ravashi, so Ravashi says, no. This has nothing to do with this inyan of yiyud. This is a separate inyan. Hacha biyavam ben teisha shanim v'yayim echad habal yevim te'eskinan. What we're talking about over here is a yavam that's 9 years old, and when the yavam is 9 years old, so there's a mitzvah in Atayra. The yavam is connected to the yavam, and if the yavam has the relation with the yavama, that bia creates the full marriage. The midaraisa chazile. So in Atayra they're married. The yibum takes effect. The time I would think to say, since Menatayre, so since there's a mitzvah this yavam to get married, and from age 9 years old, so the bia of this cotton is a bia, so therefore, so I would think to say that really this woman now is a regular Eishes Ish because of this marriage to the yavam, and she should be, and someone that's mizana with her should be chayiv. Kamash malam, that's what the pasuk here is saying, prat le Eishes cotton, that you potter. But it has nothing to do with the inyan of yiyud or not. Whether you can be miyayid lebnoi cotton, that doesn't come into this discussion. So my avi Allah, what's the answer to this shaila of Rish Lakish regarding yiyud for a cotton? Tashama. So the Gemara brings a clear statement. The Amar Rab Evu, Amar Rab Yanai, ein yiyud ela begadol. The mitzvah of yiyud is only with a gadol, and ein yiyud ela midas. The mitzvah of yiyud is only with das, that the person that's being miyayid, whether it's the odain, whether it's the son, it has to be with his das. Says the Gemara, Tarti, seems like we're saying over here, two things that are basically the same point. That because you have to have das. A gadol has das. A cotton doesn't have that awareness, doesn't have das. So it's the same point. Why is he saying two things that are the same thing? Says the Gemara, you're right. Matam kamar. He's giving the explanation. Matam ein yid ela begadol. Why is the mitzvah of yid only for a gadol? Lefish ein yid ela midas. Because the yid is, you have to have the das of the person, and by a cotton there's no das. So there's no yid over there. Or the Gemara says another pshat in what Rabbi Yanai said here, when he adds the inyan of das, my midas, when he says you have to have das, midas dido. It means that you have to have the das of this, the Omayvriya, the das of the Isha. The Tani Abaye, Bered Rabavo, Abaye, the son of Rabavo, learned that from the Pasuk, Asher lo yoda. The Pasuk describes that he was not miyayid her. What do I learn out from the word yoda? Malamed shetzarech liyada. The word Ya'ada could also be read, if you switch the letter, you put the dal before the ayin, so it could be read Ya'ada, or somewhere actually Goydis over here in the Gemara, instead of Ya'ada, you Goydis Liyada, meaning you have to notify her. You have to let her know, and it has to be with her consent that you're being Miyayda. You can't just all of a sudden one day start treating her like a wife, instead of treating her like a Amma Ivriya, and that's it, she's married to you. It has to be with her das. Hu Tanila. Now, Abai is the one that brought this drasha, this concept that the Oma Ivriya has to be with her consent. And he explained what this is based on. Why is it takaso that it has to be with her das? This is the Kidushin Yiyud, Va'alibe Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. We're talking about the Kidushin of Yiyud, but only according to the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda will you need to notify her and have her askama for this. What does Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda say? The money that the Adam paid in the beginning to the father when he bought her, that's not money that's being given for the sale and for Kidushin. Right, so in other words, if you're going to say that the money in the beginning that was paid to the father is for the Kidushin, so then you don't need the das of this girl. She's a katana. You have the das of the father. And the father sold her knowing that in the sale itself, when you pay for it, that money includes, it could be for her becoming a maid, or it could be for her becoming a wife. So you have the das of the father. So why are we saying here, liyad that she has to know? It has to be with her askon. You have to let her know that now you're my wife. Because Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says, she's getting married herself actually to her adain. As we learned, and we're going to learn soon again, that you have to have time for the end of the year, for the end of the time when she has to work, that's worth a shava pruta, and he's being meichel that time of her working, it's that value that he's being mekadosh her with. So therefore, you have to have her das. Sagt der Gemara, Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, Afilu teime likidushin nitnu. Even if you're going to say that the original money paid to the father was given for Kiddushin, so if so, you shouldn't need the das of this Amma herself, but you still do need. Shani hachad am rachmana ya'ada. This Kiddushin is different than a regular Kiddushin of a katana that a father marries a rof, that you don't need her das. Here the Torah is saying ya'ada, that it's going to be a marriage with her, that you have to let her know. So here now the Gemara brings the source of where Rabbi Yosef but Rabbi Yehuda said this concept that the Kiddushin of Yiyud is not built in to the original payment to the father. My Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. So where is the source where Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said this? So the Tanya learned in Abraise, Ya'oda, the Pasuk says, Ashalo Ya'oda vehefta. If there's no Yud, then she gets redeemed. So the Ya'oda vehefta say together. So on this, Rabbi Yossi says, Tzarech sheyehei shuhus b'yayim kidei pediyah. There has to be time and the day. If she's working for 6 years and it's the last day, there has to be time in the day kidei pediyah, meaning that there's some value of a shava pruta that if she would want to redeem herself, she would have to pay her master a shava pruta to be able to redeem herself. Only if you have that value left at the time could he be mekadesher with yiyud. So mikan amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Im yeshus b'yom kadei lasta my shava pruta mekadeshes. If she still has to work for him a value of shava pruta, she'll be mekadeshes. V'im lav ein mekadeshes. Otherwise, he can't be mekadesher anymore. He doesn't have a value of shava pruta that he's being mekadesher with. So now alma, from this we see kasavar. What does Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda behold? The money in the beginning that the father was paid for his daughter is not for Kiddushin. It's the value of Shava Pruta at the end. But Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman Yitzchak argues that's not what Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda meant to say. Even if you're going to say the money in the beginning was for Kiddushin. So l'chayre, you don't need a Shava Pruta in the end for the Kiddushin. But nevertheless, Shani Hacha, the Amar Achmana, the Hefta. The Torah over here says vehevda. So because it puts together Ya'ada vehevda, so the Torah is saying, although the Kiddushin is from the beginning, but there's a limit up until when you can be Mekadesher. There has to be a time of Shava Pruta at the end that you can then transform this, her being a Amma, into becoming a Isha. But it has nothing to do with the fact that the Kiddushin is based on this Shava Pruta. It's not based on the Shava Pruta, but there has to be that time period of her being a Amma and then transforming that into Ishas. Amar Rav Nachman. Ayimir Adam lebitei ketana. A person can tell his daughter, which is a ketana, now a daughter which is a ketana, the father is the one that's marrying her off. She has no independence for this at all. So he tells her, Tzii v'kibli kudushayich, go and accept your Kidushin. You can go, your father doesn't have to be the one to accept the Kidushin for her, go and accept your Kidushin. And we learned this out from what Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said. Because Lav, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, isn't it true that we can see over here? What did Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda say? That the money that was given in the beginning was not for Kiddushin. So when he's leaving over the Shava Pruta at the end, so have a Kiddushin. She gets married to her Adon, she's a Ketana, and she's getting married, and she's receiving the money of her Kiddushin by giving up that last time period of her being an Amma, the value of a Pruta, to become married to her to her Adon. So we see over here that she's receiving this value. I'm sorry, I said before the term giving up. I don't mean giving up. She's receiving this value, meaning she would have to work this value of a Shava Pruta, and now she doesn't have to work this value, this time of a Shava Pruta, and she's becoming married through this herself, without her father involved there. So Hanami Loishna. So too, if a father sends his daughter Ketana and goes and be Mekabel, Chesed Kidushin yourself, she'll be Mekadeshes. Amar Rav Nachman. Rav said another thing, in the name of Rav Nachman, that you can learn out from what Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said. Hamekadish bilmilve sheyesh aleh mashkin mukadeshes. If a person is mekadesh a woman with a loan, he lent her money, and he gave her a mashkin. She gave him a mashkin for this loan. He's holding on to this mashkin, and now he's being mekadesh with this loan, and he's giving her back the mashkin. She'll be mukadeshes. Now, if you remember, we learned before in the Gemara on Davav, there the Gemara says if you mekadesh a woman with money that you lent her, and you're just being meichel that loan, she will not be mekadeshes, because the Gemara says there's no money here. She's getting not only is there no actual money, she's getting no hana of money either. So she's not mekadeshes. But over here, what our Gemara is speaking about is he's being mekadesher with the hana that he's being meichel this loan, and the hana is something that he's actually giving her back the mashkin. So therefore, there is something here that he's giving her. Right? So he's not being mekadesh stam with being meichel alone. Also, another point that the Shainim point out, the Gemara is not trying to say that he's being mekadesh with the actual mashkin. There was a Gemara before that said that if you have a mashkin that someone else gave you, and now you give that mashkin to the Isha, you can be mekadesh Isha with a mashkin. He's not being mekadesh with the mashkin. He's being mekadesh with the hana that he's being meichel alone. Elamai, but that klal we say because money of a loan is made to spend and it's not here anymore, so that I know there's no money here. It's not compared to Kesef Kidushin that we learn out from Stei Efrin. But over here, because there's a mashkin that she gave him, that he's returning to her, when he's being Mekadesh with it, she will be Mekadeshes. And we learn this out from Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because lav, isn't it true? Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, didn't Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda say, Mois Rishaynos lav l'Kidushin itnu? The money that was paid in the beginning, that the master paid in the beginning to acquire, was not given for Kiddushin. So therefore, hi halvahi. So now this time that she has to work is a value that she owes him, that she owes the master. The master paid money, the master gave out money, and in return, what does she owe now for that? She owes the master now all this time the value that she has to work. So this is like a halva, what she owes for what the money for what the master gave. Now, and vihi gufa mashkin, and she herself, the fact that the Adon has the possession over her, and the Adon could force her to work for him, so she herself is like the mashkin for this value that she owes to work for him. And what's the halacha? Vihi, 1 second, did I miss a word over here? Huh? Vihi gufa, no vihi gufa mashkini, yeah. And what did Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda say? That in the end, when you leave over the value of a shava pruta, umeyayid, he marries her, have a kiddushin. The kiddushin takes effect. So basically, what's happening over here is there's sort of a loan, meaning the value that she owes to give him. That's the work, and she herself is the mashkin, the Adon, has the possession over her as a mashkin that she'll have to work for him. And now, what does the Adon say to her? I release you, I give you back the mashkin, meaning he gives her back to herself. You don't have to work for me. And she becomes mukadeshes with this. So achanami loishna. The same thing is by any loan where the man has a mashkin and he gives back the mashkin, she'll become mukadeshes with this. Tan Rabbanan, we learned in the Braise, other halachas regarding yiyud. And so here again, this the machlokes of the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yosef, the Braise learns out from this. Keitzad mitzvah yiyud. How is the mitzvah of yiyud done? Oimel abif neshnayim. He tells in front of two edim. Hareyat mukudeshesli. The Bach adds in. There's the lashon of hareyat meyu edesli, which is the lashon that the pasuk actually says. And then hareyat mukudeshesli, hareyat muoresesli. Afilu b'sayv sheish. Even at the end of 6 years. Vafilu samach l'shkia sachama. Could be a second before shkia. As long as she's still an Amma Ivriya, so he can tell her that I want you to become married to me, and v'noig ba minig ishus. And that's it, she's married. And v'ein noig ba minig shivchas. And he doesn't treat her anymore like a shivcha. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says, no, im yeshus b'yem k'dei lasasi ma'shava pruta. If you have at the end of the day amount of time that she still has to work that has a value of a pruta, then mukadeshes, then she'll be married. Vim lav ein mukadeshes. If not, she won't be married. Okay, so this is like we learned before. Again, we did this two pshatim in Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, either because the money in the beginning is not for Kidushin, it's this value which is the Kidushin, or Rav Nachman v'Yitzchak's pshat, we learn it from a pasuk, Ye'oda v'hefta, that it has to be that time in the end that she should be able to become a Isha, Kadeshes. Now the Braisa adds, mashal, we learn a mashal, now Rashi says, the taich of mashal over here means that we learn from this halacha of what the Braisa says regarding yiyud to another case. Usually a mashal means the opposite, that we use a mashal to learn from the mashal to the nimshal. But over here, Rashi's pshat in the Gemara is that from the halacha of yiyud, we can learn to the following case. Person says to a woman, gives her a kest of Kidushin, and he says, you should be mukadeshes to me from now. So he does say me'achshav, but it should take effect after 30 days. Someone else came and was mekadesh within those 30 days. So she's going to be mekadeshes to the first person, because when 30 days comes, now the t'nai means that retroactively she's really mekadeshes to the first one from the beginning. That's what we learn out. So we learn this from Yiyud. Just like by Yiyud, when a person is mekadesh to Amma Ivriya, the Kedushin really goes back to the beginning, and therefore, if someone else wants to come in the middle, she's mekadeshes already from the beginning to this master, so too over here, we learn it to this case of Me'achshav. Says the Gemara, Mashal Laman. For who are we bringing this halacha we're learning out to this case? Are we learning this out from the way Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda explained how Yid works? But that can't be. The opposite. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said the Kidushin does not go back to the beginning. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says that there has to be a value of a Shava Pruta in the work that she has to do now, and then she'll be Mekadeshes. Otherwise, she's not Mekadeshes. So that it doesn't even go back retroactively at all. We're learning out from the halacha that the Rabbanan said that the money that was given in the beginning was given for Kiddushin, and then later, when the master wants to be Mekadesher, he's being Mekadesher retroactively from that money that he gave in the beginning. Says the Gemara Pshita, it's obvious that we could learn out from there to the case of when a person says, I'm Mekadeshu me'achshav la'achash leishim yom. It's the exact same thing. Says the Gemara, no, it's not the exact same thing. Why? I would think to say, he did not say me'achshav over here. By the yiyud, he does not tell her clearly me'achshav. So therefore, maybe I would think to say, let's learn out from the mitzvah of yiyud that when you give money to a isha, and then later on, 30 days later, or over here at the end of the Avdus, he decides he's marrying her, that the Kedushin works retroactively without saying Me'achshav. So that's why the Braisa comes to say that no, it's only if you say Me'achshav. By Yiyud, over there you have the mitzvah of the Torah, so without saying Me'achshav, it's automatic that the Yiyud goes back L'mafreya. But the Braisa is telling you, but from here we learn out, only for a Kamash Malon, that we learn it out only if you actually said Me'achshav. Tanya Yedach, we learned another Braisa. Similar thing that we could learn out from this halacha of Yud. Hamoiches bitay. Person sells his daughter to be a Amma. Then v'halach v'kit shalacha. After he sells her, he goes and marries her off to someone else. She's a maid. She has to serve this master. And he went and he was Mekadesh to someone else. Sichek ba'odain. So he laughs at the master that he sold her to and he got money from him. And she's going to be married to this other person. That's what Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says. The Chachamim say no, it doesn't work that way. If the master that he sold her to wants to marry her, he's the one that could go ahead and marry her. Okay, so it looks in the simple pshat of the Braise, it would seem like that Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda is saying that sichik ba'ada means that she gets completely freed from her master and she goes to her husband that now her father married her off to. But some Achreinim say that it's not the pshat in the Gemara. Sichik ba'adin only means that he took away from the master the ability to marry her. Because now she's married, she's an Eishes, she married her to someone else. But as far as the work that she has to do as an Amma, that there's no reason to release her from her master. She still has to work for her master. And the Braisa says, Mashal, so we learn from here, from this halacha from the Braisa to the following case, a person says to a woman that you should be married to me, and he says, when is the marriage going to take effect? He tells her, someone else came within the 30 days and was Mekadesh, she'll be Mekadesh to the second person, because the first person said that the Kidushin only takes effect after 30 days. So again, the Gemara clarifies from which opinion are we learning out this halacha over here regarding la'achash leishim yom. Mashal leman. From whose opinion are we learning this out? Ilema leRabbanon. Are we learning it out from the opinion of the Rabbanon? But ha'amri Rabbanon imratza leyayid miyayid. The Rabbanon said the exact opposite. The master that she was sold to first is the one that has the right to be miyayider and not the second one. So we're not learning it out from the Rabbanon. We're learning it out from what Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda said, that over there she'll be mukadeshes to the second individual that the father married her off to. So again, the Gemara asks, Pshita, isn't it obvious? It's the exact same thing, like this case of a person that said la'achash leishim yoim, and then someone else came and married her. So the Gemara says it's not the exact same thing. Why? Because over here, by the case of Yud, he didn't say b'chlal la'achash leishim yoim. He's just, the father sold it to him. And then later on, you have the option for the Yud to take effect. But he didn't say b'chlal la'achash leishim yoim. So maybe in such a case, because at the beginning, when the father sold her to the master, he didn't mention anything that the Kidushin could take effect la'achash leishim yoim. Over here, I say that there's no remnants of the Kidushin until later on when he decides to be Mekadesher. But maybe in a case by Kidushin, if a person is Mekadesh Isha, and he says, you're going to be married to me la'achash leishim yoim, even if he did not say me'achshav, but because he's telling her in the beginning, you're going to be married to me after 30 days, maybe it does take effect retroactively. Kamash Malon, therefore it says over here in the Braisa that no, unless you say the word me'achshav, it does not take effect retroactively. The Rishonim over here explain in this Gemara that Ramban and other Rishonim explain that the Pshat the Gemara is saying right now, according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, only fits with the pshat of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda of Nachman by Yitzchak that said before that even Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda agrees that really the money that was given in the beginning is for Kiddushin. Elamai, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says that there's Exedus HaKosav that says that the Kiddushin only takes effect later when there's time left at the end. So therefore the Gemara is comparing it to a person that's being Mekadesh Isha now. He's giving her the Kesef Kiddushin today, and then it's going to take effect later, La'achash Leishim Yom. But if you go according to the other opinion, according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, that the money in the beginning is not Kesef Kiddushin B'chlal. It's money for acquiring her as an Ummah. And the whole Kesef Kiddushin just starts later, when there's time, with the Shavah Pruta at the end. So there's no comparison B'chlal to this case when a person's Mekadesh Isha La'achash Leishim Yom. He didn't give her any money of Kiddushin before. That has to be the Pshat of the Gemara here. Another Braisa, beneged to the halacha of Yud. Tan Yidach, we learned another Braisa, Moiches Bitay. Person sells his daughter, upasak almanas shalei liyayid, and he makes a condition. I'm selling my daughter to you, she's going to work for you, but you have no option of marrying her. Niskayim atnai. So he makes this condition, the condition takes effect. Divrei Rab Meir. However, the Chachamim say, Imratza liyayid meyayid. If a person wants, no, even if you made this condition, it doesn't matter. The master will be able to be miyayid or marry her. Because when you make a t'nai against what the Torah says is possible and you have the rights for, making a condition in this sale of this Amma against what the Torah says, it's nullified. It's words that mean nothing. Fragt the Gemara, or Rab Meir, Tnoi Kayam. Rab Meir says that you could make such a condition. Vatanya, but we learned in another brayse. A person says to a woman, "You're married to me, but al menas she'en lo chalai sheksus vayna." On the condition that those things that the Torah says that I have to provide for you, sheksus vayna, food, clothing, and the time, the marriage together, the bia. So I'm not giving you any of that. So she'll be married, but v'tanai batal. The Tanai is words that mean nothing because he's going against the Torah. This is what Rab Meir says. So Rab Meir clearly says you can't make a Tanai against Torah. But Rab Yehuda says it depends. The details of the Tanaim that relate to money matters, over here the Tanai will be Kayam. And Rashi explains, when it comes to any money matters, the halacha is you can be meichel any money that anyone owes you. So just like you could be meichel a loan or anything else, you could be meichel money that the Torah obligates you to give to someone, you could be meichel that as well. So over here, the shade and the ksus, you could be meichel. The oina though, that's not a money matter, you can't be meichel that. Again? By ksub, it's a different story. Over there, it's a takanas chachamim that are true, but over there, it's a takanas chachamim that it shouldn't be light in his eyes, he shouldn't treat his wife lightly in his eyes. Over there, l'chayre, you can't. It's a discussion in the Gemara about that. Okay, Al Kopanim, so we have here Stira and Rab Meir's opinion. Achizkias says, Shani hacha da'amakra la'ama. Over here, there's a pasuk. The pasuk says that he sells his daughter. That extra word la'ama is clarifying pa'amim that it could be times. He's selling her just to be an amma and without yiyud because of a condition. So usually, you can't go with a Tanai against Torah, but over here it's not a Tanai against Torah. Torah itself is giving you this ability to make this Tanai. The Rabbanan that don't dash in Islam for this, and they consider it to be a Tanai against Torah. What do they learn out from this pasuk that says that you sell your daughter just to be an Amma? They learn out from this what we learn in Abraisa. La'ama means you can sell your daughter for someone that's puzzle, even though, like Rashi says, a mamzer or nasan, and he's not allowed to be either. He's not allowed to be married to her, and still he can sell it to one that's puzzle, and she'll only be an amma without any marriage. So the Gemara asks, why do you need a pasuk for that? V'haloi dinu. Can't I learn this with a kavachaymer? In mekachol psulim, if a father has ability to be mekadish's daughter to someone that's puzzle, even though it's aser, but if you mekadish your daughter to someone where there's an isser of a lav, the Kidushin takes effect. It's an isser, but the marriage is a marriage. So loyim keranu l'psulim, he should not be allowed to sell his daughter to someone that's puzzle, and then the Kidushin, the Yid, would take effect even though you're not allowed. Why can't I learn it out from that? Says the Gemara, no, it's not the same thing. The fact that a father can marry off his daughter even to someone that's puzzle, shekain, I see that the father has a broader right in marrying off his daughter. He can marry off his daughter not only as a katana, but even as a naira. When a father sells his daughter, and in that sale there's also a marriage, would I say that includes even selling his daughter to someone that's puzzle? Over here, his ability to sell his daughter is much more limited. He can't sell his daughter as a naira. So maybe there would be a limitation that he can't marry off or sell his daughter to someone that's puzzle. So therefore, you have to have this pasuk of la'ama that he can sell his daughter to someone which is puzzle. Rabbi Eliezer says, to teach me that you could sell your daughter to someone that's puzzled to marry her. There's another pasuk that teaches me that. The pasuk there describes that if she's bad in the eyes of the master, and the master does not want to marry her, so then he releases her. So when it says ra b'nei adineh, ra b'nisuah, doesn't just mean stam that he hates her. It means that the marriage is asur because there's a psul here. From there we learn out that you can't sell your daughter to someone which is puzzle. So now, again, fakert. You learn out from there that you could sell your daughter to someone which is puzzle. Why? Because the pasuk is describing that it's possible that Ra, even though she's puzzle, she can be an amma. Mal tamad loymar le amma. So what do I learn out from this that the Torah says le amma? It's actually coming to say that he could sell her even to a relative, and we're talking over here about a relative where there's no Kidushin at all. Kidushin doesn't take effect. There's an Issa Kodesh. When there's Issa Kodesh, the Kidushin does not take effect. There's no Yid possible at all, and still he could sell her to such an individual. And now the Gemara asks on that, do you need a separate pasuk for this? Wouldn't I learn them out from each other? If you could sell it to someone which is possible, should you not be allowed to sell it to Kroivim? Now the Gemara says it as a kal v'chaimer. The Rishonim say the reason it's a kal v'chaimer is because by psulim, she might actually end up getting married to this person which is possible, because the Kidushin takes effect. And still the Torah allows you to sell her as an Amma. By Kroivim, he sells her to a brother, to someone which is mamish a relative. He's not going to be the Kaddish. The Kidushin doesn't even take effect at all. So maybe over there, it's similar to say that he can sell it to her as an Amma. Says the Gemara, so this man Amma holds that even without Yud, you could still sell it just as an Amma. You don't need the possibility for Yud. So the Gemara says, no, you can't learn out from that. If he's selling it to Psulin, so if he wants... Thank you. If he's selling it to Psulim, if he wants, he can be miyayid her, and if he wants, he can't be miyayid her. But can you use that as a source that he sells it to Kroivim, where if even if he wants, he can't be miyayid her? So you can't compare the two. Maybe I would say that in a situation where there's no possibility for yid, you can't sell her as an Amma either. So this man the Amma here, Rabbi Eliezer holds, you can sell your daughter as an Amma even when there's no possibility for yid. Just finish off two more lines. But Rab Meir, going back before, Rab Meir learned out from La'ama, he learned out a whole different thing. That you can make a t'nai that there'll be no yid. So from where does he know this halacha that you could sell your daughter to someone which is possible? He learns out from the pasuk of Imra be'enei yadei neha that you can sell your daughter to psulim. And regarding this, from where would Rab Meir know that you could sell your daughter to Kroivim? The answer is Savalak Rabbanon. He holds like the Rabbanon, the Amri, Ei Meicher LeKroivim. You cannot sell your daughter to Kroivim since there's no possibility for Yid.